Hey guys, welcome to nitahcrochets. My name is Anita. Today we have the wrap monokini, and first I want you to check out my Instagram. It's a lot of things that I have on there, and it's a lot of communication I really pass on my Instagram more than any other social media platforms that I have. Now this is how this monokini looks like. Okay, it wraps to the back and then wraps to the front with these more like bigger straps that wrap to the front. Okay, and it's a very perfect monokini for people that have firm breasts. The coverage at the back is really nice, as you can see. It's just very great coverage. So as we all know, I made the chika chain dress, okay, and now this monokini is something you can have underneath the chika chain dress. Why? Because it doesn't spoil the design of the dress. Okay, I'm just passing this through. If you didn't know about this dress, I made it and there is a video tutorial on my channel. So is the written pattern on my coffee shop, and the written pattern has up to size 3XL. Okay, like honestly, how cool is that? How cool. Back to the monokini, guys. Okay, now you can style this monokini with this kimono, okay, and the tutorial for this as well is on my channel. I'm going to be leaving links for all these in the description box. All right, now this monokini has a written pattern that is on my Etsy and coffee shop, and you can get the written pattern for the monokini, and it's very size inclusive up to size large. Okay, and I have figured if you're a size medium or large and you want a grip for your breasts or your under bust, there is something you can do, just like I did right there when I was working my size. Okay, I put a string just below my under bust so it can hold up my boobs and so they can stay in place. Okay, now guys, I have a target. As you all know, I really want new recording equipment. I want good sound, good image and everything. So I have put this target on my coffee shop, and just in case you want to support the target, or you want to support my brand, or just to give back to me, guys, I am really grateful. And for those that are already doing so much, please, I am so thankful. Even just watching my videos, guys, you are doing so much. Thank you so much. So the link to support is in the description box. So you can just buy me a coffee on my coffee shop, and there you have added to my target. Okay. So I'm going to be working with this yarn. It is Robin 100% acrylic, and it is size 2 yarn. So I'm going to be doubling my strands, and then moving on, I am going to be working with a 3.5mm hook, as you can see, and then you'll need a stitch marker, pair of scissors. I think that's all. Yes, that should be all. Maybe a yarn needle to weave in your ends. And yeah, now let's get started. So the lady over here is going to be talking while I'm talking, but I'm just going to make sure I am super loud so you can hear me more than you can hear her. Now first we are going to get our yarn and make a slip knot, just like that. Okay, and I'm going to get my hook and put it into that loop, and here I am going to chain 10. Okay, now I've made a few, like not so many, maybe like a slight change, more like just more coverage for the crotch area. It's just a slight change that I did not put in the written pattern. In the written pattern, I gave the crotch area very few stitches. Okay, now here I have chained 10, and into the second chain stitch from the hook I am going to work a single crochet, and I'm going to continue working one single crochet into every chain stitch until I come to the end of the row. So I am literally going to end up with 9 stitches. Okay, in the written pattern I must have had like 7 stitches, and that's because I was going to also work single crochets along my edges. In this tutorial, I'm not going to be polishing my edges. I'm just going to make sure that my double crochets are neat enough to give me a clean edge. Okay, so just in case you need to polish your edges, not to have a very big crotch area, I would advise you end up with you work 8 chains so that you end up with 7 stitches. All right, I hope I am clear. Okay, if you look at this monokini and the blue monokini whose picture I shared in the video already, you will see that in this for this monokini I did not work my edges, and for the blue one I worked my edges. Okay, so I am moving on from that. Now for the next row, we are going to chain 2 and turn our work, and we are going to work 1 double crochet into every stitch all the way until we come to the end of the row. Okay, so you just chain 2, turn your work, work 1 double crochet into every stitch until the end of the row. So I have 1 stitch left to end my row, and I'm going to work the last double crochet in there, and this is how your work should look like. So my next rows are not going to be any different from this. Okay, I'm just going to chain 2 and turn my work, then work 1 double crochet into every stitch. I am so sorry. We are working 1 double crochet into every stitch until the end of the row. Okay, so basically this is the crotch area moving towards the front. Okay, this is the crotch area moving towards the front. So we are working 1 double crochet, and the number of double crochet stitches that you should have on this row should be the same number of stitches that you had on the previous row. Okay, so just like that. Now I'm going to let you repeat this for the next row and the next row so that you have a total of 4 rows. All right, now I'm going to meet you after you have 4 rows. That means we are adding 2 rows from here. Yes, to make it 4. Okay, now this is what it looks like after working those 4 rows. All right, so what we are going to do now is we are going to be working an increment so that we increase to get the front bit of our bikini bottom. So we chain 2 and turn our work. Into the very first stitch I am going to work 3 double crochets. All right, once we have 3 double crochets into the very first stitch, as you can see, we are now going to work 1 double crochet into every stitch. Okay, so we work 1 double crochet in the next stitch, and this is what we are going to do for the next as well. And we are going to do this until we have 1 stitch left to end our row. Okay, so work your 1 double crochet until you have 1 stitch left to end the row. Then I'm going to come back and show you how to end the row. I need to mention that this is a size small that I am working in the tutorial, and the written pattern has a size medium as well. So once we get to having 1 stitch left to end our row, into that very last stitch, we are going to work 3 double crochets all in that very same stitch. So basically, the way we started our row is how we are going to end it. Okay, and once you have that, you're going to chain 2 and turn your work. Into the very first stitch this time, you're going to work 2 double crochets. And after we have 2 double crochets in the very first stitch, we are going to work 1 double crochet into every stitch until we have 1 stitch left to end the row. So work your 1 double crochet until you have 1 stitch left to end the row. Okay, for the background noise, I am sorry, I cannot control that. The lady over here is playing with her toys and also speaking at the same time, but I need to voice over this tutorial, so I let it out for you guys. Okay, now once you get to the very last stitch on the row, you are going to work 2 double crochets all in that very same stitch. Now how we start our row is how we end our row. Basically, the increase that you work when starting the row is the increment that you're going to work when ending the row. Now for the next row, we are going to repeat what we have done for this previous row. Chain 2, turn your work. Into the very first stitch, you are going to work 2 double crochets. All right, and then we are going to work 1 double crochet into every stitch until we have 1 stitch left to end our row. Okay, now what I need to mention here is we are working in a series of a row of 3 double crochets when starting the row and ending the row, and then the next 2 rows are going to be 2 double crochets when starting the row and ending the row. I hope I am clear. Okay, so we have come to the end of our row. Okay, and we are going to work 2 double crochets into that very last stitch. Okay, just like we did when starting the row. So once we get to the end of a row and we have to work the next row, we are going to work exactly what we did for the very first row that we worked when starting our increment right there. Okay, so we chain to turn our work, and into this very first stitch we are going to work 3 double crochets all in that very same stitch. Okay, so just work your 3 double crochets, and once you have all 3 in that stitch, now we are going to work 1 double crochet into every stitch along this row until we have 1 stitch left to end the row. So just work your 1 double crochet. I'm going to get back and show you how to end the row once again once you have 1 stitch left to end the row. Now here we are, we have 1 stitch left to end the row, so into that very last stitch we are going to work 3 double crochets all in that very same stitch. We work 3 double crochets all in the very same stitch. Okay, now the next row, like I said, the next 2 rows have to start with 2 double crochets and end with 2 double crochets. Okay, so we are going to chain to turn our work, and we are going to do exactly what we did on the second row of our increment. So we work 2 double crochets into the very first stitch. Okay, now this method, I should say, this method applies to people who are working size small and medium. If you are working size large, attempting to work size large for this design of a monokini, I would advise that you work 1 row of 3 double crochets when starting and ending the row, and the next row should be 2 double crochets when starting and ending the row. So for you, your series of rows should be 3 double crochets when starting and ending the row, then the next row 2 double crochets. Now for us, we are working 3 double crochets, then the next 2 rows should be 2 double crochets when starting and ending the row. I hope I am clear. Now into the very last stitch of this row we work 2 double crochets, and this is exactly what we are going to do for the next row as well. Okay, so for the next row we chain 2 and turn our work. Into the very first stitch we work 2 double crochets in the very same stitch, and then we work 1 double crochet into every stitch until we have 1 stitch left to end the row. Okay, so you are going to work your double crochets until you have 1 stitch left to end the row. So I'm just going to get back and throw more light. I have a tutorial I worked, and someone was rude to me in the comment section, and they just came back and told me, "You're repeating." It's so funny. Okay, first let me just get this done. Work 2 double crochets into the very last stitch to end this row. So the person was like, "You're just repeating everything you are saying the same thing and the same thing." Okay, the reason as why I keep saying the same thing is I want to emphasize so that at least someone out there that probably just doesn't understand my accent of English, or just someone who may not have understood, can understand. So we are going to repeat this for the next rows. I'm just going to get back and tell you the number of rows that I will have worked. Okay, and this is it. Okay, this is how my work looks like, of repeating 3 double crochets when starting and ending the row, and then the next row 2 double crochets, and the next row 2 double crochets. Okay, so I have a total of 14 rows. So this implies that when we count the row of single crochet and the 4 rows for the crotch, that will give us a total of 19 rows all the way to the top. Okay, so those are the number of rows you should have. Now from here, I am confident that this is the coverage or the width that I need going forward, because the number of rows you have on this row dictates the coverage of your bust. Okay, the number of rows you have from here up to there dictates the coverage of your bust, because we are going to work a split from here. So you should make sure that for every half of this number of stitches can cover your breast. Okay, So I hope I have given you good adjustments for if you're working a larger size than medium and small. Okay, so if they cannot, then you will have to go a little bit more wider. Okay, or you use the method I told you for a size small. It gives more coverage and you get a good number of stitches that can actually cover your whole breast and give you good coverage up at the bust. Okay, now here we are going to chain 2 and turn our work into every stitch. We are going to work 1 double crochet. Okay, so I'm going to let you work your 1 double crochet until you get to the end of the row. Oh, I need to mention, okay, when you work this until the end of the row, do the very same thing for the next row. Okay, so you're just going to work this until you have 4 rows. Okay, so work this until the end of the row, then chain 2, turn your work, do the very same thing for the next row and the next and the next. So we have 4 normal rows. Okay, so that means we are going to have a total of 23 rows. Okay, I hope I am clear. We had 19, so if we add 4 rows of just normal double crochet, then we have a total of 23 rows. Now we are going to count the number of stitches we have along this row. I personally have 52. Okay, so I am going to mark the center stitch, counting from the left side towards the center. So 52 divided by 2 gives me 26. Looks like we all have something to say. This woman is making noise. Now 52 divided by 2 gives me 26. So I'm counting 26 stitches and marking the 26th stitch. Counting from my right side, I don't know, the left, whatever side. But yes, from where I last had my last stitch towards the center gives me 26, and I mark the 26th stitch. So to work your next row, we are going to work 2 chains, turn our work 1 double crochet into every stitch until we have 1 stitch left to the marked stitch. Okay, until we have 1 stitch left to get to the marked stitch. I hope I am clear. So just work your 1 double crochet. I'm going to get back after you have that, or you have gotten there, then I can tell you what to do next. So as you can see, I am almost getting to the stitch next to the marked stitch right there. So now you see I have this stitch and then the marked stitch. Now into those 2 stitches, I am going to work 2 double crochets together. So basically I am working into the marked stitch and the stitch next to the marked stitch. And there you work 2 double crochets together, just like that. Then now you are going to chain 2, turn your work. Work 1 double crochet into every stitch until the end of the row. So this time we don't have any decreases or increments. We are just going to work 1 double crochet into every stitch until we get to the end of the row, and that's where I'm going to meet you then show you, tell you what to do next. Now this is what's going to happen. You are going to chain 2 and turn your work for the next row, and we are going to work 1 double crochet into every stitch along the row until the end of the row. So we repeat that and repeat that for the next 8 rows, so that we have a total of 10 rows. From the split right here, these are 2, so we add 8, and that makes it a total of 10 rows. Okay, so I'm going to get back once you have that. Now this is what we have, and this is how your work should look like after those 10 rows. So we have 10 rows from the split, and now from here you should see that my work looks like that. You're going to count the number of stitches that you have on your last row. I have 25 definitely, because I just worked a decrease right there of after having 26 stitches. So I'm just going to take out this stitch marker and mark the center stitch of the 25. That means 25 divided by 2, it gives me 13. So I'm going to mark that 13th stitch right there. Okay, so this is where the more like, what's it called? Oh, I forgot to mention, I think I added like 2 more rows. I think I added like 1 more row or 2. Yeah, I added more 2 rows. Sorry, I added 1 more row. So I have 11 rows from the split, okay? Now, once you have marked the 13th stitch, this is where the decrease of our bust is going to be, okay? To give us more like that, what's it called? The fold of the cap, okay? To work the next row, okay, I am going to chain 2 and turn my work, and into the first 2 stitches I am going to work 2 double crochets together, and then work 1 double crochet into every stitch until the marked stitch, okay? Please don't work any stitch in the marked stitch, just work until the stitch next to the marked stitch, okay? Just work 1 double crochet until you are right there, and that's the stitch. So so the next stitch is now the marked stitch, and in the marked stitch is where I'm going to have a decrease. So I'm just going to take out this acting stitch marker. Now into that stitch and the next we are going to work 2 double crochets together, just like that, okay? Now from here we are going to work 1 double crochet into every stitch until the end of the row. Now I understand that I can literally just work a decrease at the beginning of the row and at the end of the row. Yes, I know. But you see, when you work a decrease at the center of the row, more so if you're working your bust, there is a way your work is not flat, okay? Your work gets the curve for where your breast sits, more like how a breast cap should be. I hope I am clear. I hope I make sense, okay? So you see, when we are making these outfits, we are not just making, I love to make something that would look exactly like how clothing fabric would look like if it's made like this, all right? So that's why I have that decrease at the center of the row. Now, once you get at the end of the row, you are going to chain to turn your work and work 2 double crochets together into the very first stitch. Okay, now also on this row you should have counted your number of stitches and marked the center. For me, I don't usually do that again. I just look for where I last put my decrease, and that's the line for which I follow. I hope I am clear. Now you are going to work your 1 double crochet until you get to what should be the center. Okay, for me it's right there. So I'm going to work my double crochets until I am at the stitch close to the center, okay? And once I am there, I will work 2 double crochets together into the next 2 stitches. Once you have your 2 double crochets together in the next 2 stitches, what you will now do is you will work 1 double crochet into every stitch until the end of the row. Okay, so you are going to just keep doing this for every row and every row and every row until you have 1 stitch left. So basically the decrease is going to go on and on. Like I said, do you see how my cap literally has that fold? Like it gives the breast exactly where to sit. It's not just going to be flat. So you're just going to do that and decrease until you have 1 stitch left. And what we have done on this left side is what we are going to do on the right side right here. So just copy and paste everything that we shall do. So when you get to that peak of your breast cap, you will work chains long enough for your strap, okay? Now for me, this is how my work looks like. Coming from down, going up, this is how it should look like once you have worked your left breast cap and your right breast cap, okay? So at the top of my once I had 1 stitch left on the row, I just went ahead and worked chains long enough for my strap. All right, now we are going to get down here at the crotch and work on the opposite side of our foundation chains so that we start working the back part of our swimsuit. So here is what we should have, or we should do. we are going to get right here and insert our hook in there, pull through our yarn and work one chain. Into that very first stitch we are going to work a single crochet and then work one single crochet into every chain stitch until the end of the row. So your stitches should be the same exact number of stitches that you worked on the other side of our foundation chains. So just do this until you get to the end of the row. Just make sure you are crocheting those yarn ends underneath this row, okay? Or you can just later weave them in. That's all up to you, but this is what I usually do. So once you come to the end of the row and you have made sure that you have the same number of stitches, you are going to chain 2 and turn your work. And here you are going to work one double crochet into every stitch until the end of the row. Now this is our crotch area moving towards the back, okay? Moving towards the back. So what I mean to say is the foundation chains are going to lie at the center of our crotch. Now for this crotch area as well, we are going to work 2 more rows, okay? So just chain 2, turn your work, and then work one double crochet into every stitch until the end of the row, and do the very same thing for the next row as well, okay? Now once at the end of the row, here is what you're going to do. You will chain 2 and turn your work, okay? And into this very first stitch we are going to work 3 double crochets all in that very same stitch, okay? And once you have your 3 double crochets, you are going to now work 1 double crochet into every stitch until you have 1 stitch left to end the row. This swimsuit is very easy, honestly. It's just a repeat of stitches. You just need to know when to work your decreases and your increments, okay? Now once we have 1 stitch left to the end of the row, into that very last stitch we are going to work 3 double crochets. Now we have started working increments so that we work the back part of our bikini bottom, okay? So once you have your 3 double crochets, you will chain 2, turn your work. Into the very first stitch you are going to work 2 double crochets, okay? Now I need you to master the difference that we have for the front and for the back. I'm going to explain that later in the tutorial. So from here you will work 1 double crochet into every stitch until you have 1 stitch left to end the row, okay? So yes, into the very first stitch right here you are going to work 2 double crochets to end the row, okay? Now yes, to work the next row we are going to chain 2 and turn our work, and now we are going to do exactly what we did for the very first row that we worked when working our increment, okay? Right there. So we are going to work 3 double crochets into the very first stitch. So into the very first stitch right here we are going to work 3 double crochets, okay? And then we are going to work 1 double crochet into every stitch until we have 1 stitch left to end the row, okay? And also at the end of our row we are going to do the very same exact thing. We are going to work 3 double crochets into the very last stitch. And now once we have that, we are of course going to work exactly what we did for the second row of the increment that we worked, okay? That means the next row is going to have 2 double crochets when starting and ending the row. So we chain 2, turn our work. This is literally the last row I am working with you guys. I'm just going to explain what next, okay? So we chain 2, turn our work. Into the very first stitch we work 2 double crochets, and then we work 1 double crochet into every stitch until we have 1 stitch left to end the row. And into the very last stitch, okay, right there, we are going to work 2 double crochets. Okay, so once you have worked your double crochets all through, you work 2 double crochets into the very last stitch. Okay, now going forward, as you can see the series of increment that we have been working, the first row had 3 double crochets starting and ending the row, and the next row had 2 double crochets starting and ending the row. So that's exactly what you're going to follow for the next rows. Okay, so the next row after this will have 3 double crochets when starting and ending the row, and then the next row after that will have 2 double crochets when starting and ending the row, and you will do that for the good coverage that you need. After you have a couple of rows, okay, if you look at my work, you see these are the number of rows that I worked. Okay, 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10 11 12 13 14 15 16 17 18. So I have a total of 18 rows, but the increment stopped at the 15th row right there. Okay, and then the next 3 rows are just normal rows. That's why you see there is no increment right there, and it is a straight line. So this woman is making noise. You should do the very same thing. Work 3 normal rows after your 15th row to make it a total of 18 rows. And once you have that, okay, you can work more rows if you wish and make it more like 20. That's all up to you. But yes, for me, this is just enough coverage. From here, I am going to insert my hook and I'm going to work along the edge of the 2 rows, okay, the 2 last rows. So into every double crochet post, I am going to work 2 single crochets. Okay, 2 single crochets into every double crochet post, and I'm going to make sure I have a total of 5 single crochet stitches. Now I am working along this to work the strap that I just showed you that I worked on the other side of my bikini bottom. So this is it. All right, I have 5 single crochet stitches, and now here I am going to chain 4 and turn my work. I'll skip the very first stitch because 3 of the chains act as a stitch, then skip the second stitch, and into the third stitch I am going to work 1 double crochet. Okay, then chain 1, skip the next stitch, and into the very last stitch I'm going to work 1 double crochet. Once again, I am going to chain 4, chain 4, turn my work, skip 1 stitch. 3 of the chains are going to act as a stitch, so I'll skip 1 and then work into that double crochet stitch, which was the third stitch of the 5, and then chain 1 again and work, skip 1 and work 1 double crochet into the last stitch. Chain 4, turn your work, do the very same thing for the next row and the next row and the next row. Okay, it should look like this, and you're going to do that for a total of 35 rows so that you have a strap long enough, just like I have mine on this side. So this is how your work should look like. I didn't finish my strap on the other side, but yes, this strap comes to the front and it ties to the front like that. But now remember, we need our swimsuit to stay in position, so we need straps at this corner right here and also this corner right there, and those straps are the ones that tie to the back. If you saw the video of the monokini, you saw exactly what I showed you on how to tie your straps and where your straps have to go. Now we are going to cut a good length of yarn, just like mine, and fold it into 2. Make sure that 2 ends are of the same length. So that means we create some sort of like loop, okay? And we are going to get into the corner right there where you last worked your increment, okay? And I'm going to insert my hook in there, get my yarn onto that loop and pull through my yarn, insert my hook into that very same double crochet post right there, pull through my yarn, and there I'm going to just start working chains. Okay, and I'm going to work chains and chains until I have the length of strap of a strap or string that I need. And exactly, you're going to follow that very same row and put a strap right there as well. So these tie to the back while these tie to the front. Okay, now like I said, for sizes medium, if you feel you need your breasts in place, you will just work a string long enough that you're going to run into the row that is just under your bust right there. Okay, just like in the blue swimsuit, the picture that I shared in the blue swimsuit, that's exactly what you're going to do. So you run that string underneath and make sure you are running them in the same exact rows, okay, that are in line. And now once you have that complete, I feel like this is the end of the tutorial, and thank you so much for making it this far.